very strange. Got it. Okay. There's something strange going on. Just give me a second.
Yeah, maybe is the other computer? No? Okay.
So yesterday I told the tech group, but you see, in projects, when you tell somebody, it's really important that they write it down. And also there's this thing called an implications question, where you say, you know, normally you talk to somebody, you say, do you understand? And they go, yes. So yesterday I said, on my machine, I use a nickname, which is called Cyber Frank, because in my book, the character is called Frank. So it's a joke. So when I was talking to the technical team, I said, so that's what I'll be coming in as. But you see, in a project, when you give an instruction, you say, do you understand? Everybody else says, what? Yes. Because if they understand, they say yes. If they don't understand, they think they understand, so they say yes. So there's a special question you ask them, which is an implications question. If that's true, what are you going to do differently? Or what are you going to do about it? That's an implications question. I did not ask that question yesterday. And that's, sorry, why we're so behind time. So I'm going to go straight into the session, if it's okay with you. I want to take you on a journey, but I need to ask our coordinator, how much time do I have so that I don't overrun and then everyone has to go home? Because we have 45 minutes, which finishes in 6 minutes time. Does anyone know?
Yes, doctor. I believe we have about 40 minutes.
Is everyone happy with 40 minutes? Great, yes. Okay. So the important thing for this session is I'd like us to be very interactive. Sorry, coordinator, I missed your name. I'm so sorry.
My name is Yara Vicardose.
Yara Vicardose. Okay, I have to rely on you because I'm going to ask people to put comments in the chat.
Absolutely.
And then if you can keep an eye on them, because
yes.
they're coming in English and Spanish, and
Absolutely.
tell me what people are thinking. Is that okay?
That is perfect. And people, team, if you want to chat in Spanish, si quieren ponerlo en español, hay que translate to the doctor in English, okay?
Okay, so guys, just quickly, let me take you through what I would like to cover with you. I want to go through this thing about complexity using 5 different chapters. So the chapters are, you know, why change what we currently do? I have a chapter about what about people, because people are very strange. Here's the thing. When I started presenting, every time I had a technical problem, I would just freeze. I don't know whether you guys have this experience or not. And I couldn't think what to do and what to say, and I get etc. So people are very strange whenever you put them in complexity and change. I'm going to show you how to deal with them. Chapter 3, what about projects? You're all experts in Agile. What do we do? What's new in projects? How do we make those work? How to make them perfect, and then the real secret of how to then transform so that you have a future world which you are happy to live in. So start from the beginning. So my name is Eddie Obeng. I'm going to share with you, this isn't the photograph I was looking for, but this is pretty damn close to the first project I ever did. I was about 8 years old. I was reading one of these cartoon books, and there was a picture of a go-kart. And I decided I wanted to build one. And it gave you like all the frame and what you had to do. And this was my first project. And I have to confess, I suffered from project overrun, overspend, and the quality didn't quite match. Do you know what happened? So for example, when I was making the frame, I saved my pocket money to make the frame, but I didn't realize it would have to be welded. So I had to then spend more time on that to try to get it welded. So I started learning about projects and how easy they were to do badly at a very early age. This is another project. This is from me at school. And when I built this thing, when I was working on it, I would say to my colleagues at school, hey, come and help me build it. What I discovered is they would come to my house, but all they would do is eat all the biscuits and orange juice, and then they wanted to play. So as a leader, suddenly I discovered it's not so easy to get people aligned with the objectives of your project. And we're going to have to explore that as well. This one here is a funny one. This is a picture of my mother. My mother is actually giving a presentation on CUBE, which is the virtual classroom campus I work in. She's 96. And I think what was really interesting from this was that you can still do new things even when you're much older and you've retired. So it's always possible to do new things in projects. So I put that there as an inspiration for you. If we turn slightly to the left, I worked for a company called Shell. And I worked in research, and I learned something very important about people. And I'm sure this is a challenge which you all face. Have you noticed how when you tell people to do things on a project, they don't always do what you want to do? Have you noticed how sometimes on projects, you get people who actually wanted to stop? Has it happened to you? So what happened was I was given this research project, and I was very pleased about it. I was new to the company. I was working really hard on it. Then one weekend, I went in and all my research, all the work had been broken. You know, obviously somebody had sabotaged it. I couldn't understand what was going on. Then I discovered this chap called Lionel Barnes had come in at the weekend and sabotaged everything. Why would he do that? Then I realized that he was running the project before me. He had made it a complete disaster. They had given it to me and I was making it work. You see the problem? So he was affected by me. It was my fault he sabotaged my project. I know you're imagining it's his fault. No. I completely never thought about who I might affect by my project so I could include them and take them through the project. I was just concentrating on my own tasks. Managing people through projects is really important. This one is a different one. This is a story of one of the early jobs I did after I left Shell. We were doing something called energy integration. In the old days, in a factory, everything would come in cold. You would heat it with steam. Then when it was hot, you cool it down with water. It was very expensive. So our job was to heat the cold things with warm water, with the warmer exit things, and heat the more high temperature things with the hotter things. So let me just explain to you how that happens. In a project, there are easy jobs, simple jobs, jobs you can put into a box. There are complicated jobs which require complex decisions and real nuance to understand the stakeholders. Often, as a project manager, and I'm sure you do, we make the mistake that we do the simple tasks. And then, of course, the team members have no simple tasks to do, nothing to look after, nothing to own. And then we have to work at night to do the difficult tasks. So there's something in there about making sure that you have the right people lined up to be able to deliver the right outcomes. And then the last story I'll tell you is just what I do now, which is this is our office, but I spend most of my time actually electronically as an avatar. I'll go back so you can see the back of my head, and that's me. So that was a little bit of a long talk about me, but I want you to understand projects live everywhere in our lives. You can improve your project skills with everything you do, even making supper. You know, when you're chopping stuff up, I'm going to show you how to think about it as a way of making sure that you become imbued with projects and you just become really excellent. So I want you to imagine the next 38 minutes is fantastic. You learn, I don't know, how to engage people, how to be more agile, how to bring energy. I don't know what it is, but it's fantastic what you learn. What are your biggest hopes? Please type those into the chat for me. And my partner will probably tell me in a second what's coming up in the chat. And then I want you to imagine your greatest fears. What is it you don't want us to waste time doing? So things which would make this session fantastic and things which would make you feel that actually you wish you had gone to the dentist instead of coming to this talk, okay? Are there any things in the chat yet?
Okay, not yet. I think maybe people is shy. I can share one of the things, my greatest fears. I'm a participant too, so one of my greatest fears is that I couldn't hear you today because of the technical issues, right?
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic.
Anybody else pueden escribir en español y yo le traduzco al doctor, ¿ok? Aquí dice, it says, learn how to make a project successful is one of their greatest hopes.
Okay, well, how to make a project successful.
The other one is greatest fear, be kicked out of the project. One of the greatest fears.
You lose your job completely.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So I can share with you what you should do so you're not kicked out of the project. Okay. Maybe one or two more hopes, and then I can adapt and add some stuff for that.
One hope, customer satisfaction, they say. One of the greatest hub, learn new technologies as well.
Learning technologies. Okay.
Other one, balance people development and project success.
Okay, how to balance people development and project success, yeah?
Yeah, one fear is how it is not to manage correctly the timelines.
Okay, I can do timelines. Okay, that's it. I'm sorry, I can take no more special requests. Okay, timelines. I'm going to start by, first of all, just explaining a few more things. So I wrote that your fears might be we do the same old things. I assume you want some insights, practical things, concrete takeaways. My biggest fear is you don't take any notes because I'm making jokes and I talk very fast. So that's my biggest fear. And then my final biggest two fears are that you're looking for a show instead of actually learning, but also zombies. Old world zombies, they were like that. They were, okay, new zombies, they're the same. They're also, their brains are gone. So please, let's go. These are the hopes we have. You can all see them very clearly. I'm going to walk my way through them. But first, why did I ask you your fears? It's very stupid for me to ask you your fears because now you told me I have a problem. Is that what you do normally in your meetings? You go to a meeting and say, tell me your greatest fears. No, nobody does that. Why have I done it? I'll explain. Did it ever happen to you went to a meeting and in your mind, you know this project is not going to go well. And the project leader is saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And you're thinking, it's never going to work, it's never going to work. And then he announces something, he says, and we're going to ensure the integration between the HR and the IT, blah, blah, blah. And you go, this is rubbish. You're sitting next to your friend, always you do this like that to your friend and you whisper to them, and you're laughing together because you can see the disaster coming. But the project leader, he doesn't ask you. So you leave the meeting, then 2 months later, exactly how you predicted, disaster. You see your friend in the car, you say, hey, do you remember we went to that meeting? And you laugh together. It's funny because you predicted it would go wrong and it went wrong. Whose fault is it? It's not your fault. You were just in the meeting. It's the crazy, stupid project manager. All the people could tell you in advance what is going to go wrong and you forgot to ask them. You just added risk to your own project. How crazy is that? So the first thing we do early in every conversation, early in every project, is we try to extract the fears. Don't use the word risk because people just talk about time and cost. Say fear, you get the real things. And then we fix them before we go, because also when we fix them, people relax. Do you know anybody who works extra hard on something they think will go wrong? Never happens. I'm going to show you how to fix every single fear fast. Did you ever watch a science fiction film? All science fiction films are exactly the same. They involve aliens. What is the job of an alien? Travel to the earth to eat you. That's what they do for a living. So I want you to imagine that an alien spaceship has crash landed, okay? And let me just see. I'm going to try and draw an alien spaceship for you so you get the feeling of an alien spaceship. Yeah, so here we go. So this is my alien spaceship, okay? It's oh, come on. I've had enough of strange things on technology for one day. Come on. If it doesn't come on, I have another whiteboard. I always have two things, you see. So I'm not panicking. Ah, there you go. So here you go. This is my alien spaceship. Okay, great. There you go. And boo, it's crash landed, okay? In the films, it's always exactly the same. The alien spaceship crash lands, and the people, instead of running away from the alien spaceship, which is what you or I, intelligent people, do, they run towards the alien spaceship, even though there's fire coming out of it, okay? And when they arrive at the spaceship, there are usually 3 of them. But of course, aliens have no manners. So the aliens never, ever come in, and they are never, technology. Then the aliens never come to the door to greet you and say, please come in. No, they hang around and they hide. So you have to go around. So of course, there are 3 of them. So they let's split up. Have you seen this in the films? Then one of them meets the alien, okay? And when they meet the alien has teeth. It's obviously going to eat them, slimy. They never kill the alien. What do? They phone their friends. What would you or I do? Step number one, the moment you see the alien, you take out your laser blaster and you blast the alien. Of course you do. They never do that, okay? So now they've been eaten. Their friends arrive 2 minutes later. Where's our friend? They can never find them, but they go, oh, let's take this back to the laboratory to study it, okay? So they take the alien back with them and they lock it in the laboratory. Of course, by now it's had a good meal. So he's digesting. So they have to decide what they should do. So they get somebody to keep an eye on the alien. Always is the mad pot smoking drongo. Am I right? So the camera, that's the camera. The alien then escapes, eats everybody, hides in the ducts. Finally, they have to blow up the whole space station, which is what's known as Plan B. Guys, if you can identify in advance what the problem is going to be, you don't need to go through that. That's how you eliminate all risks and fears. So that's the method I use. It's called Fix It Now. You will never forget it because it's a very silly story, but it gives you all the steps. Identify the danger, step one. Ask people what their fears are. Kill it straight away, step two. Limit it, contain it, okay? Relax or monitor it. And if there's a plan, if there's a problem, then you have to have plan B. So from this conference, let's imagine your objective is to implement ideas, okay? Your greatest fear is what? That you will have more work to do and you don't have time to do it. So maybe we have to find out a way to make some time for you somewhere. You're going to have to find some time, otherwise nothing will come from this. Maybe you can only select the things which are really important, contain it. Maybe you're going to monitor every week to see if you applied it. And if there's a disaster, phone up people you met at the conference and say, hey, what are you doing? And steal what they're doing. This is how we deal with fears. I've just taught you two methods there. One is how to align people on an agenda. It's called hopes and fears. The second is how to de-risk every project as you walk down the corridor, okay? Important also is never forget to think about what your boss also might be worrying about so you can de-risk that one and then you can get more money. So guys, over here in my mind, you're taking notes. I will check you are not haven't got technical issues. If we go along, I'll make sure I fix that one up. I'll show you how to avoid bad timelines and I'll give you some new things. I'm going to stop there. Partner, are there any questions or comments in the chat?
Hola a todos, el doctor está preguntando si alguien quiere hacer una pregunta. And doctor, I have here one fear that maybe, you know, it's not in the board, but might be a good topic to tackle if you hear it. And it's one of my greatest fears is not to achieve team motivation, how to inspire the team.
Okay,
as a leader.
I can do that as well. I'll cover that one as well. Okay. Great. Okay, so let's go to chapter 1 then very quickly. Okay, chapter 1, I want to talk a little bit about why we change what we currently do, but I'm going to start with timelines because we started a bit late. So I'm going to build that in. Here's the thing. This is what they try and explain to you that should happen on a project. You know, the project starts, this is the starts from the beginning, the start point. Okay, so let's say you've got all the scope, you've got everything you need to do, and you get the start point and you're going to go forward from the start. I think technology is going slowly. You guys were worried about things going slowly. I'm worried about things going slowly. Everything's going slowly for me now. Oh, there you go. Okay, I'll talk it through. If I can't draw it, it doesn't matter. So I want you to imagine that you're running a project and the project is starting at the beginning. So let's call the beginning point here. This is the start of the project at the bottom. And then it's trying to go towards the top. And let's call that there. And I'm just going to mark on here. So everyone will tell you a project just proceeds in an orderly, direct fashion from here to there. That's more or less what you sort of imagine is going to happen, isn't it? But that's never what happens. You start on track. The moment you start, immediately you go off track. Yeah, so your track was going up like that. You're off track over here, but you're not reviewing. If you don't review, do you know if you're off track? No. Why don't you review? Because every time you review, especially with your boss, you get more work and you become miserable. So nobody ever reviews because we don't want to be unhappy. So the project goes way off track and they say, hey, let's have a review. Then you have a review, you have 2 days which are bad, you start heading again towards the goal, but what happens at that point? You wander off track because you're not reviewing. So whilst you're off track, you don't know, you're happy, and so on. So what happens over and over in projects is that you start off planning to go from A to B, here to there. You wander off track, but you don't know you're off track, but you're happy. If you do the right thing, which is actually to know where you are, then you're miserable. The best way to do any sort of staying on time is to discipline yourself into regular reviews. That's the only way out of it. If you don't do that, you can never, ever be timely. But let me pick that up and show you how it would look and just make sure I've explained it. I always, if I'm running a project, I tend to work with what I call the 5 pieces. So I will start by saying, okay, great. This project is huge. Let me break it into 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I know if I don't review, I'm going to wander off track. But you see, 5 minutes, first section in, I know I have to correct it. So I come back on track. So yes, I do find most of the time I'm off track, but timeliness is only ever fixed through reviews. Let's go forward. Guys, complex world. I don't know if you noticed, but one of the things which I sometimes ask people is, are you busy? And many of the time people say, yeah. And I say, even with the lockdown and stuff, you're still busy? They go, what? Are you crazy, man? Yes, of course I'm busy. Okay, what's going on? Let me come and have a look. Do you recognize this? I'm going to start here where it says I have a high workload. Obviously not you guys, time to be at the conference. So I don't have time to plan or to do or to be creative. So I don't realize how much work I'm committed to, and I've only done half. So I say yes more than is realistic, which pushes my workload higher. Give me no time to plan or to do or be creative. So I come close to deadlines other people think are important. They are worried they'll miss, they interrupt me. I spend most of my day restarting half-complete work, pushing my workload even higher, giving me less time to plan or to do. So now they email me and send me text messages in the night. Do you recognize that sort of thing? Yeah, you do. Why? Because you've got stretching targets and life has really not changed much. So let's try and understand what's happened. Quite simply, what's happened is somebody has changed the way the world works quite dramatically. When I'm trying to explain it very fast, I'll usually draw like a very long horizontal line here. I'll put 2021 here. I'll put 19. Are you guys old enough to remember 1990 at the other end? Are you old enough to remember that? I don't know whether you are.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Yes, yes, yes.
You never know. You never know. Okay. So, so that's the sort of timeline. And I want you just to think about what's happened in the world over that period of time in terms of the pace of change which is going on, the complexity, the number of people on the planet, the amount of technology and interaction, and so on. So how would you say 1990 versus 2000, which one is higher? Obviously now, okay? How is that joined together? It seems to be that it's joined using really a curve. I'm not sure if you have the same experience or not as I do. Yeah, why is that a problem? Because best way to explain it is we haven't been changing on a curve. Most of us used to learn how faster than the world could change. That was basically what we had as organizations, annual budgets. It assumes you can learn faster than the world is changing, for example, okay? But how fast have we learned and changed over that period? I'll push it horizontal because I know that for most of us, our organizations, we can't go faster than the boss says we should go. So what that basically means is we've moved from a world where we could effectively learn faster than the world was changing to a world which can change faster than we can learn. Now, why is this a problem? Because when we got to this point and we started feeling very stressed about change, the little red monster came along and it pushed it even faster. Did it happen to you? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand why we use Agile and not waterfall? When the world is changing slowly, you can learn faster the world is changing. So you can understand the requirements, make a good plan, sit around for 3 years, do some things, roll them out, worry a little bit more, see if there's a payback. Do you understand? Okay. When you started looking at Agile, we were probably just about starting to look at this part of the world, which is over here, okay? Where effectively the world was moving faster. And then we've hit this part over here, which is the world is moving even faster. So what do? We have to change. Agile is not enough. Agile is great, but it's not enough. Let me take you and then show you why. You see, this is the version of the diagram I was drawing, which is probably easier for you to read. So I'm sorry it's in English. My Spanish is pretty rubbish, so I tried in the support page which I've made. The links are in Spanish. So by the way, if you want to find out anything after the session, if you come here, let me bring this here. Write this down. https://cube.cc/pmi-latam. All this material, how to get to it, everything is there. So if I'm talking too fast, don't panic. Everything is there. And maybe even we get the recording of this to put there as well. First job is, this is something I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do. You have built your career till now. That was really in a world of change. There were certain things you did to be successful. Maybe you are accredited, you built your knowledge. I'm asking you, looking at the future, what will you need to do to continue to be successful? I'm only giving you 20 seconds to think, but please think about it, because just doing what you're currently doing is very unlikely to lead to massive change in your performance. Partner, can you look and see if anyone's writing anything in the chat about what they're going to do differently?
Absolutely. Improve soft skills, says Alexander.
Fantastic. Okay.
Who else? Yeah. Let's see. Getting more support from other people.
Yes, please. That's a good one as well.
More collaboration.
Motivating people in a second as well. So that should be good.
También pueden escribir en español si quieren, ¿eh? Bernardo is saying, I'm going to improve my facilitation skills.
Yes.
And Ana Maria says, learning to say no and keep calm.
Brilliant. Okay. So the way you say no is you say, I really like what you're proposing I should do. And it's really got good merit. There are many other things I'm doing, and this one I would like to do, but I can't do it. I'm not going to be doing it yet. It's a nice, polite way of saying, go away, you are wasting my time.
Very polite.
You saw what they've proposed, you explain it's relevant, then you put it in the relative balance of the other things you have to do, and then you say no. It's very difficult for people to argue with that. If you just say no, they think you're not a nice person. Oh, and here's my little joke of making things different. I love this particular little photograph. Okay, let's go to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is really important because chapter 2 helps us understand something about human beings. See, for most of our lives, billions of years, we didn't live in cities and have PowerPoint, okay? We were always out in dangerous places. And if you know where you are and you are in your hut or wherever it is, you feel great. But the moment you're in an uncertain place, your heart starts to beat and you have many different problems. You start to look at obstacles, dangers, what's going to get me? That's what's known as chaos. Human beings generally don't like chaos. The other thing you have to understand about human beings is that they're really rubbish at knowing what reality looks like. So as you can see, there's a very light gray square here. And as you can see, there's a very dark gray square here, okay? I know you won't believe me, but they're exactly the same color. The way I'm going to prove that is, you see, I've just picked up a square over here. And as I move this square to the left, you'll see it's the same color as this. And as I move it here, we have no perception of reality. The reason is we never needed to understand or know what was going on in order to survive. It was not really important. Let me show you what the problem is. Millions of years ago, there were just two jobs on the planet. You could not be a project project manager. There were people who hunted and there were people who gathered nuts. Those were the two jobs on the planet. Now, if your job is hunting and gathering, when you wake up in the morning, you say to your other half, I'm off. They say, goodbye, okay? And they give you a big hug. No, why? Because you might not come back, because all the other animals also hunt and gather, okay? And so you're out hunting and gathering, suddenly out of the bushes bursts a saber-toothed tiger running towards you, okay? It's going to eat you. What are you going to do? Now, if you watch Discovery Channel, they'll tell you things like, mankind use their big brain. I hope this does not look like Homer Simpson. Use their big brain to think of ideas and to communicate clearly the strategies which were required for survival. That's what they'll tell you. They'll tell you that we use tools to try and beat the other animals. That's a toolbox, okay? And we could do this because we had opposable thumbs. Have you heard of all this stuff? Of course, this is all nonsense, okay? And then they'll tell you things like, and we work together as a tribe, all supporting each other, and that's how we became the biggest animal on the planet and stopped being eaten. It's nonsense. As a saber-toothed tiger is coming towards you, if you waste time thinking, you're gonna get eaten. If you try and discuss it, you're gonna get eaten. If you put your thumb and say, stop, you're gonna get eaten. The only tools they had were sticks and stones. You can't kill a tiger with sticks and stones. And yes, you can work together as a team, motivated, but also saber-toothed tigers work together as teams. So what's the halftime score? You see the problem? The thing which keeps you alive is some software in your neck just here. It checks for change. If it sees change, it goes, huh, be careful. Something has changed. We're now in that dangerous place. You might get eaten. It does three fast things very, very quickly. First is it switches your brain off. Why? Because thinking, as we know, will be too slow. Second is it makes you really emotional. Why? Because when you're emotional, you deal with it in the moment. Nobody says, I'm going to give it to my tiger, but I've got a meeting at 4. They don't do that, okay? Then it fills you full of adrenaline, basically drugs, okay? And then your heart beats and so on. If you escape, slowly the drug level goes down, the fear might go down, and eventually the logic will come on. This is when you went to that meeting and your boss said, I'm not happy with that. You're overrunning, you're going to cut your budget, we're going to kick you off the project. Immediately your brain went off. You start to talk, but rubbish comes out of your mouth. You remember that? And you go, well, of course, blah, blah, blah. It's nonsense, okay? You know it's nonsense. Your stomach is all tight, sweat on your forehead. You're in emotional state. That's what goes on. When you get home in the evening, you relax a bit, a little less emotional. You go, damn, what I should have said was, logic comes back on. Everybody has that. Do you understand why this is a problem? Because when you run a project, you keep changing things. And everyone you change things on goes through that emotional thing. And logic doesn't work on emotion. The reason that Lionel Barnes sabotaged my project at Shell was because I had surprised him. His brain was off. He was angry, emotion. Even if I'd spoken to him, you don't believe me, try this. Next time your other half says, you don't love me, say, yes, I do. I can prove it. And start to list, try to list all the things logically on why you can prove that you love them. No, you give them a hug. Any emotion beats emotion. So it's at work, you either have to frighten people or you have to make it fun. Better not to surprise them. That's really important. If you surprise people, you will end up with something bad. There are 3 groups of people, I call them stakeholders. If you get this wrong, you cannot motivate them, you cannot move them forward, you're in trouble. This is Dracula. Everyone knows Dracula. This is a person with a stake, otherwise known as a stakeholder. Okay, it's a very bad joke. He wants to kill Dracula. Why? Because Dracula jumped out of the bushes and surprised him. Never, ever surprise your stakeholders. Find them before they find you. This is a man with a stake. This man is helping him hit it in. Like, this is you hitting it, project lead. This is who? Your team. Will your team support you and be motivated if they don't trust you? No. Will your team support and if they don't believe in the goal of holding the stake? No, because it's a risk for them. This is a different type of stake. This is more often with the financial stakeholders, the senior people. This is a man boxing in the ring. These people have a financial stake. They're betting on your success. Will it go? Won't it go? Will it affect my political career? Won't it? If they think you're succeeding, they'll say, hey, I back you. Here you go. If they think you're doing a bad job, then your boss says, well, I have no time for meetings. Have you had that? So stakeholders are really important. The way you get to them is don't surprise them. Engage with them emotionally. How do you do that? The way you engage with them is you always, always, always get into their minds. Have you noticed how many questions I ask compared to statements? Do you know why? Because again, hunter-gatherers have a second piece of software. Because it's so hard to get fat by hunting and gathering, this software checks to make sure your brain, which burns energy 10 times faster than your muscle, doesn't waste all the energy. So every time you have a question or a problem or challenge, it wakes up and says, hey, brain, you're thinking. I want you to fall in love with this particular idea and turn it into more food. Have you noticed how brilliant all your own ideas are? Do you understand the mechanism? When you have an idea, you fall in love with it and turn it to more food. Have you noticed everybody else's ideas are horrible? Yes, because they're horrible saber-toothed tigers. Everyone you engage with, you bring into ownership of the project. Use questions, connect with them. I've already shown you how to say no. Oh, I love what you're saying. I see it. It's very important. Always connect with them. Always ask them questions. Always help them be part of it. Say to them, you can even use questions as instructions. Shall we stop now and review chapter 2?
Yes, we should, Dr. Obeng.
Okay, any questions or comments? Anything I've missed which I've not explained?
Team, you can chat in Spanish or you can chat in English, whatever you want. We have here Jorge Nila, Dr. Obeng, that will be able to translate if it's necessary.
Okay.
The one thing that I wanted to share with the group here. Hola a todos, amigos. Hi, I'm gonna speak in, translation
it's okay,
is available.
Fine, I don't mind. I'm happy.
You don't mind? It's about, we are almost very close to closing time, but I'm sure you guys want to know a little bit more about chapter 2 or chapter 3. So Doctor, if you kindly, give us a wrap up of the things that you are portraying here in the chapter 2 and see if people has more questions, that will be awesome.
Great. Okay, so what I was hoping to do is I've hopefully explained it's going to get more complex. If you haven't got that, I missed something. You're going to have to change. Hopefully I've made that really clear. There's no way out. In chapter 2, I wanted to really you to understand really that the way human beings are designed is against change. That's why back here, I asked you your hopes and fears. Do you recognize it? I asked you, you told me, I wanted you to write it, because then you get the green dot, then you own it, you want to hear the whole of the presentation to see if the things will come true. That's why I asked you your hopes and fears. Over here, I started to explain to you, how do you remove the fears? And I told you as a story. Why? Because stories include people. Again, it's the same thing. So it's chapters 1 and 2, I'm just trying to set the scene. Does that help? Partner?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you're staying for 3, 4, and 5, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to explain why projects are such a difficult thing, why they're different. I'm going to show you how I do it. It'll be very quick, so you get a sense of that. And then really, I'm just going to jump to chapter 5, which is what should you do. So I might skip chapter 4 because we started late. So I want to talk about projects, and I'm going to talk about what you do. Should I go?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So do you remember we were talking about this, this challenge of having the world accelerate? Now, I was laughing at waterfall, but it's not really funny. You see, what happened was, all of a sudden, the way in which the world started to behave suddenly broke. And I'll try and describe it for you very, very clearly. So over here, I'm going to, on a new blank sheet, I'm going to draw over here the curves we just went through. So here is the world, and here is the ability to learn, just quickly. And when we hit this part here, what happens is, if you look at the challenges or the opportunities which we have, you suddenly discover that on that side, in the old world, often we knew what to do and we knew how we were going to do it. And that's where waterfall lives. But you put your hand up or chat, let me know. Do you have a project where you have really good clarity on what you're supposed to do, but you're not really sure how you're going to do it? Does somebody have one of those? Let me try another one. Let me try one where you're not sure exactly what the outcome is, but you know that it has to be done using Microsoft Teams. In other words, you know how you're going to do it. And then some of you have projects where really there's a problem. It's a big challenge in the organization. You're not sure what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to do it. Those are the ones which we find in this world over here. I'm sure your hand went up at some stage. Now, let me tell you how you feel. If your hand went up when I described this one here, you probably feel very confident and very happy. Everything is good, okay? If your hand went up when I described this one, you're probably a little bit challenged, but you feel you might get there. You can figure out what to do. If your hand went up when I said you know how, but not what, you probably got question marks over your head and big ears because you've got to find out from people what a successful deliverable looks like. And if your hand went up when I described that somebody says, execute this, but you're not sure, the scope isn't clear. You started the project, you've just run your first sprint. It didn't make any sense. You've done your retrospective, it was a disaster. Stakeholders have come to the sponsorship product owner meeting. They've said exact opposite of what they said last time. Does this ring bells? Okay, then you look a little bit like this guy over here with the funny crossed eyes, okay? You know what you're dealing with. And this world we've created doesn't just give you a project, which is a project, it's like different flavors. I call this one here painting by numbers. Like when we were kids and we had the little books with the numbers, 1, 1, 1, 1 is red, 2 is blue, etc. Do you remember that? I call this one here going on a quest. I named it after the quest for the Holy Grail because I live in the UK and one of the kings had this quest where he said, hey, Arthur, King Arthur, he said, go and get the cup Christ drank from. And they went, I think one project leader went looking and they looked for 100 years, which is what's known as serious project overrun, okay? I named this one a movie because you will know that if you just film something on your phone and you upload it, it's usually no hits. It's like a solution looking for a problem, okay? In other words, you need a good script. It has to be funny or have cats in it, okay? And this is what I call it. In the UK, we have this thing called fog, where basically the clouds come down to the ground. You can't see where you're going. So I have names for these different types of change. So just because my handwriting is so bad, I will bring you here so you can see what it should look like. Okay, why is this important? This is important because if you're smart, you will change your leadership style and your management style to match. Let's do the management style first. I want you to imagine that you have a paint by numbers project. How should you approach it? Plan it, define it, coordinate it, implement it, hand it over. Great. Waterfall! Bad news, only about 1 to 2% of projects fall into this category. You know the goal, you don't know the method. How should you deal with it? What did King Arthur do? He got everyone into the room. He said, hey guys, this is really important. He motivated them. How? By describing how they would feel and what things would look like when they had succeeded. Once they were excited, he sent them all off to look in different places. They went looking and he made a mistake. He should have told them to come back at Christmas, time or money limit. Then he could have done a good review and then decided what was more promising and zeroed in. But he didn't know how to do it. This method is different from that method. The top one and the bottom are not the same methods. They're different. Can you see that? If you're running a movie, what do? Most of your effort is going and talking to people. Once you've understood the objectives, you know it's easy to bring your technology, your new rollout. Fog, get people together, get them to trust you. How do you do that? Promise to do something, do it. Remind them you promised you were going to do it and you did it. Once they trust you, talk about the future. The future is the opposite of the problem. Get them to take one step, review it. Is it going in the right way? Yes, let's go back at the end of that sprint, do it again. Can you see the management methods are different? Are we getting anything in the chat? Nothing in the chat? Hello? Hello? Have I done something dumb?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, no worries. How do you lead it? Here, you use your expertise, your knowledge. People respect you for that. Here, you use your energy, your passion. They like that. Here, you use the fact you listen, you inquire. That's what they want. Here, you use your trust, your personal relationships, and your ability to learn. Different leadership styles. But you have to be able to adapt for each project which comes to you. So that's the end of that chapter. I'm going to show you how I do it. If there are no questions, I'll do that quickly and then we wrap and close. Should I do that? Okay. So what I do is I tend to work. This is a different room. This is next door. And over here, I have a whiteboard. And the thing about this room is if you know what type of project you're running, you simply just change to the right whiteboard. So if, for example, I said I'm running, what should I run? Doesn't matter really. A quest, the whiteboard for the quest comes. And then all I have to do is just follow the journey for the project from what is it, who are the people, define it, refine it, develop, implement, and close. That's it. I know you guys use Agile. For me, Agile is a bit even more difficult. So, for example, who's in my core team? We saw this already. If you're in the fog, what did we say? Leaders should build trust. So it tells you how you should behave as a leader. You want to motivate people? It's a fog. You want people who care a lot and like solving problems, the green ones. The more of those you have, the better. If you have people who just want to bring their knowledge, you'll spend a lot of time trying to listen to them because they don't want to be in the fog. So you have to think about that if you're going to motivate them. Great, let's step back. So we come to time to define the project, find the right people. Okay, we talked already about stakeholders. This one here is what I call stakeholder grid 2. This is a really useful one because I think most people waste their time on the wrong people. Over here, it says people who understand what you're doing. Here it says people who don't understand what you're doing. So Lionel Barnes didn't understand what I was doing. Here they agree with you. Here they don't agree with you. You got that? They agree. It's different from they understand. People who understand what we're trying to do and agree with us, we generally think of them as friends. Is that right? People who understand what we're trying to do, but don't agree with you, we seem to think of them as enemies, troublemakers. People who don't understand what we're trying to do and don't agree with us, we just think of them as idiots. And people who don't understand what we're trying to do but agree with us, usually that's just your mom, but we like them, but we see them as a bit idiotic. Where do you spend all your time? Who do you talk to? You talk to your friends. That's completely useless because they already understand you and agree with you. All your meetings should be with enemy, idiot, stupid people. That's where you have to work if you're going to succeed. I watch people, and because of the uncertainty, all they ever do is talk to their friends. Have you done that yourself? And then we get to the point where the senior people ask you for a business case, and you spend weeks. I'm going to show you in the next minute how to build a business case very fast. It's called the Gap Leap. It's also on the web with an explanation. A few weeks ago, I had some people from a university, and we were talking, and they told me that the difference between where they were and where they'd like to be was they didn't have students fully engaged to be working virtually. So I said to them, what will happen if you don't fix it? And they said, you know what will happen is the college will lose income, they'll lose prestige, lecturers will be demotivated, as tutors will have to work super hard, students will lose their well-being, will have dropouts, they might fail their exams, they won't get through the useful material. So I said, organize that as a story for me. So they said, well, what will happen is that, well, first of all, the students will lose attention, the lecturers will end up having to work too hard because they're demoralized, students will drop out, they might fail their exams, the students will lose prestige and will lose income. I said, great, that's a good story. Tell me what happens if you fix it. Remember the trick I told you in the fog? You look at the future, and once you have trust, that's what you do. They gave me these types of things. I said, tell me again as a story. They said, oh, well, if we could fix it, then all of a sudden, we'll be able to reach the students, we'll get increased income, we'll prove that the students will prove that they've learned things, we'll get a visibility of their workload, the college will be able to maintain results, we'll get asynchronous learning, and we might actually discover we like it. So you can see not fixing it is bad, and fixing it looks a little bit better. So my question, why have you not fixed it yet? Oh, the senior people just want to wait until the lockdown crisis is over and so on and so forth. Guys, do you see, when I asked them why not fixed yet, this basically is the project scope. They've got to get the senior guys on board. They've got to figure out how to communicate to the students. We've got to have control over them, etc. That's the project scope. Now you can put a cost to each of these steps and you have immediately a business case. So I've taught you in a minute how to make a business case for any project instantly. Let's go back and wrap up the session and wrap up the chapter. If I've done a really good job, I've tried to get you to realize that projects are about you. It's your living. It's who you are. Try and make it part of you rather than a job. Take it into everything you do. I tried to share that with you as the story. If I've done a good job, I've managed to pick out and help you understand how to engage and align people using things like hopes and fears as questions. And I've also helped you to understand you should never fear any project because all the risks are totally manageable. If I've done a really good job, I've helped you realize that the world has changed and you have started to make some lists of things you have to change yourself. If I've done an excellent job, you understand people. I drew it behind you, but they're weird. And then there are stakeholders, and these stakeholders are weird. And if you don't get to spend the right time with the right stakeholders, so that you spend time with the ones who don't understand, don't agree, the real problem ones, then you have problems. If I've done a really good job, I've highlighted the importance of building trust, and I've explained how, as you go through the project, choose the best method, choose the best leadership style, use your gut feeling to decide what you want to do. I'm stopping there unless there are any final questions. Is there anything in the chat? Or has everyone gone home?
I just have one question. That what do you think about making reviews dynamic? Maybe what do you do to do reviews? Because when you have done some number of them, 3, 4, 5 reviews, people get used to it and find a way around it.
Exactly. So when I'm doing reviews, as you know, I live in a virtual world. So for me, my world is a little bit different. But what I do is I try and get what we call a drumbeat. So if there's the 5 big ones, but I often will have like many frequent shorter reviews, like your stand-ups, like a stand-up basically. And what you do for that is I use something called a catch-up. I'm just trying to find it for you. And everything has started going slowly. The first part is celebration. What have we got to celebrate? That's how I do it. I don't look backwards to find out what went wrong. I look backwards to find out what went right. So the first part is celebration, okay? And once I've got the celebration, okay, let's celebrate. Then I get them to tell me what's up next. But the what's up next is, tell me what you're fixing next. So what problems have you got which you can foresee, which you're fixing in advance, and what help do you need? I don't do a let's dig and find out, because You see, all this through history, we've run projects completely the wrong way around. We spend a little bit of time planning them. Then through the project, it's like driving a car, but you're driving the car looking into the rear view mirror all the time and the side mirror. That's how we run our project. What happened last week? Red, amber, green. Is it, let's do a retrospectical, always looking backwards. No, 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 no. We look forward. We look backwards to celebrate. Everyone's happy. They're not defensive. Then we say, tell me the upcoming problems and let us know how you could fix it and what I could do to help you fix it. Then, once you have captured the upcoming problems and what's to be done to fix it, if another problem comes up, which they didn't talk about, you as the project leader, give them a hell of a beating. Why didn't you see that coming? Because you want them to look through the windscreen, not always looking backwards to cover their backside. Does that make sense? Great. Any other questions?
I think we don't have more questions in the chat.
Okay, great. Okay. So I just close by just saying a very good thank you. I'm running a course which covers this stuff. So if you're interested, but most importantly, just have a look at this link here. Everything I've covered should be there. So
that link only runs on Windows? Does it run on Linux?
I missed that, sorry.
That software runs in Windows, yeah? Not
yes,
Linux.
That's right. Yeah, not
Okay.
not Macs. Macs are too complicated for me to be able. I don't understand how to use them. So I'm going to put the link in here. But this is just a web page. This one. If you want to come on Cube, because it's an entire campus. We went to 2 rooms, but it's an entire campus. I will get one of my tutors to stay with you whilst you use one of these tools I've shared with you. So if you say, Eddie, you went too quickly through hopes and fears, go to this link, organize it, meet somebody, and they will teach you and show you how to use it for real.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Well,
okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks.
Eddie.